Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the upper tier, and this is your FA Cup 5th round preview. Joining me, as always, for these previews, the Dazzler. How are we, Darren?
I'm all good, brother Niall. I am all good.
Good. As always, if you want to contact the show, the upper tier podcast at gmail.com. We're on Twitter at the _upper_tier, Facebook and Instagram, the upper tier, and Darren, we're out on TikTok as well, the upper tier podcast. Let's get into this preview. Some interesting toys in it, and then some sort of, I would call, some gimmies. But we'll start anyway with the great Peterborough versus Man City.
Clash of the Titans, really, isn't it?
Tough one for Man City, all right, yeah.
Is this, did I read that there was really slim odds on Man City getting Peterborough based on how many times they've got each other in recent years? Yeah, I think Paddy Power were offering like even money in like an 8 or 16 team draw because they've just seemed to draw each other every year. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure this will be like every other year. And City will put out, I'm sure, what's the boy? Cole Palmer. Cole will get a game, and we'll probably see a little bit of Fernandinho and, Nathan Aki and Zach Steffen, and they'll win by 3 or 4, probably.
Yeah, they'd have to ring the changes anyway after struggling a little bit against the good old Everton, wouldn't they?
Listen, they're doing exactly what we said they were going to do, which is just grind it out. How many times have they this season, has it been 1-0 or 2-1 with a late goal? Like it's classic title winning form. Like absolutely classic title winning form. It really is. Do you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I take it we're unanimous in a Man City going through.
I'm gonna put City forward. Yeah. Would you second that for me, no?
I would. I will second that for you.
Lovely.
But we live in hope about the Peterborough. Hopefully they could do something. Crystal Palace versus Stoke.
Yeah. I think I remember. I have to say Noel, because I'm getting older these days. I'm 37 now, and memory's not what it used to be. But I'm pretty sure earlier on in the campaign I said with a decent draw we could see Palace in a quarter or a semis. Yeah. So I'm sticking with it. Palace at home, they've got more than enough to take Stoke out. I was actually only talking about Stoke on Friday night. The chairman of the tennis club is from Stoke. He's a big Stoke City fan, and he's not overly impressed with how things are going at the minute. I thought O'Neill was doing a reasonable job, but he said it's just it's teetering a little bit. He said it needs a bit of a shake up in the summer, with some players and stuff like that to really get to build that momentum and stuff. I think this is tailor-made for Palace, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they'd have too much. I think they'd have
this is going to put them in an FA Cup quarter final, and again with a decent draw, you could absolutely see them in a semi-final. And they'll make it difficult for teams. We've seen how good they've been this season, even on days maybe they didn't get the results. Chelsea and Liverpool games are 2 prime examples of that. So, I fully expect Palace to go through here.
Yeah. Interesting one. Middlesbrough versus Tottenham, the team that knocked yourselves out against Tottenham, who have kind of played really, really well and then stuttered, and played really, really well and then stuttered.
Yeah, I suppose Tottenham are searching for that bit of consistency, aren't they? And I think it's really taken its toll on poor Conte, isn't it? I don't think I ever remember football taking so much of a toll on a manager and a top manager. By the way, we have to remember that. I think Middlesbrough are going to be really tough. They're going to be resilient. They're going to be dogged. Like, listen, here's the thing: they should never, ever, ever have beaten us. We'd enough chances in that game for the game to be over by half time, but. We're gonna speak about that later on the mashup as well, obviously, with what's happened the weekend. Yeah. So this is par for the course with United at the minute. I think Spurs, depending on how many changes they make, could make this more difficult for themselves, because I don't believe they're gonna necessarily go out with all the big guns based on the fact that there's another league game only on the weekend and trapped in between, the 2 league games. I think Spurs will make a few changes, and I think they can afford to make changes in certain areas of the pitch, but I think there's other areas of the pitch where they can't afford to make changes. Like, who plays up front other than Harry Kane? In a similar way that if it's United, who plays up front other than Ronaldo?
Yeah, I suppose with Spurs, it's a difficult one as well because like how many changes can they make in the middle of the park as well? It's not like they're heavy anywhere. How many changes can they make at the back? You know what I mean? Without really devaluing
Yeah,
themselves.
what I mean, yeah, I suppose you've probably got the boys Moore and Bergwijn who could take the place of Kulusevski and Son if you wanted to do that, Then do you put the young lad Dane Scarlett in to take Kane's place? You have Hallberg and Bentancur who's been in there, and then you've got Winks and the other boy who was on loan at Norwich last year, Oliver Skip.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of boys that can, mix and match and stuff like that. But again, I think this has got to be it is a huge opportunity for Tottenham to maybe pick up a trophy this season.
Well, it's probably important for Son to play as well, isn't it? Because he's missed a number of games. So he's kind of nearly only back.
And I mean, Conte could be looking at this going, you know what, we could have an absolutely awful season, maybe pick up a trophy and finish in the top 4.
That'd be an amazing season for Spurs.
But that's my point. If we look at Spurs' season now, it's been horrific. It's really been horrific, since Harry Kane decided he was walking out the door and then wasn't given the, nobody opened the door for him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been really poor. They've chopped and changed the managers, obviously, and the style of football hasn't been good. Everything.
Yeah.
In theory, Spurs could win an FA Cup. In theory, if they show up the way they did against City, they can beat anyone, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, they could absolutely get that top 4 spot. Now, if they get top 4 and win an FA Cup, Conte's getting a statue, and he's at the side of the pitch saying, "I don't feel like you should be giving me all this money because things aren't going the way we want it." And do you know what I mean? That's how contrived it is.
I think a lot of that wasn't that a bit contrived to get a reaction out of the players though, because I mean you rarely see him talking like that about. He generally doesn't talk about himself that way in terms of degrading himself. But I think what he did was he was very clever in the way he deflected from the players and took the heat himself. Would have been something we seen back in the day with Fergie as well, where Fergie would take the hassle on himself and deflect from the players.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, he's a humble sort of a man, isn't he, as well? So I think, his character as well, that's kind of the way he is. But I think it could have been a masterstroke, absolutely. And you're right, he's gonna start that. He's gonna have the lads thinking, it's that us against them mentality, backs against the walls all the time, and and they're out to get us and stuff like that. And we've seen it before. And what the thing is, it works, and it works in spades. When you can do it right and when you can do it well. I think it's something very similar to what Guardiola can do at times. I don't feel like Guardiola gets enough credit for his mental approach. I mean, obviously, you talk about Fergie, the master of the mind games and stuff like that, and Klopp likes a mind game and stuff like that. But I think with how cool Pep is with things and how relaxed and laid back in situations, I think that's got to be great for his team, isn't it? Because if you're looking at him and you're going, well, he's not getting flustered at all there. We've nothing to worry about here. And I think he's very clever, and I don't necessarily think he gets the plaudits for that, because obviously we look at the beautiful football they play and they go, oh, wow, what an amazing technical coach. But I think, there's a lot going on there as well that maybe we don't acknowledge.
Yeah, I don't think in terms of Pep, we'll come back to the Spurs game, but in terms of Pep, I've said it before, even on the show, I don't think he gets enough plaudits at all. I think everything that he achieves there reverts back to the blank checkbook. And the blank checkbook often overshadows the grind and the work and the labor that has to go in, regardless of that. You know what I mean? It's all well and good going out and buying players. They still have to be managed. They still have to be picked. They still have to be trained. They still have to be coached.
As we well know.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much money have United thrown at this since Fergie, but couldn't get anyone to get a tune out of the fiddle the way Pep has done at City? And let's be honest, he hasn't blown. He spent money. Let's look at this though. He backed out of the Maguire deal. It got too heavy from him. He backed out of the Kane deal. It got too heavy from him. He promoted from inside with Phil Foden. He's gone in. He's got, I'm not saying they haven't spent money. He's obviously spent money. But the one thing for me that he does really well, and the clever thing is, he keeps buying centre-backs. because he understands clean sheets are going to win you leagues.
Yeah. I often say to people as well, apart from Grealish, the 100 million Grealish thing, and I know you backed out of kind of Maguire, I've said before, he's always in that 40 to 60 bracket. It's always that kind of around that 35 to 55 or 40 to 60 bracket. It's rare you see him. I mean, he's done 100 million there on Grealish and hasn't delivered at all. But if you look at some of those players he's brought in, he's brought them in for reasonable money.
He has, yeah, no, absolutely he has. He really has, you know. And you look at like the boy Rodri, you look at Mahrez, you know, you look at, he gets a tune out of Jesus. He's fucking dire.
Yeah.
He is absolute. Would he get into the Liverpool squad?
No.
He wouldn't get into the United squad. Fact, and we are terrible. But he knows what he can use him for. You know, you've Foden, you've the boy Palmer coming up as well now. The other lad, Liam Delap as well. You know, like he really is undervalued at times.
And see that, and those points that you're bringing up there, they're not checkbook related.
No, none of them are.
That takes coaching, it takes management, it takes an eye for a talent, and when to bring them in. Like when you're talking about Jesus, he wouldn't get into the Liverpool side, he wouldn't get in potentially to the United side, but he gets into that side at particular times. And Pep is kind of, his timing at times in introducing them is exquisite. And again, that's not checkbook related. And I just think sometimes the wealth of the club and the checkbook overshadows the graft that has to go in.
And it's very easy, obviously, because of, you know, he was at Barcelona. He won it all at Barca. But he had Messi, he had Ronaldinho, he had all this. He won it all at Bayern. But Bayern are probably going to win it even if he's not there either. So you get all that labelled. But for longevity, for the continued success he's had across every competition he's gone into, like you guys won the Carabao yesterday. He's been prolific in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah.
While still giving guys games, while still changing tactics, while still doing all these things. Like, the man's a genius. He really is. And it pains me to say that.
And we've spoke over the last few weeks about the respect that we should have for even cups like the Carabao Cup and stuff like that, because you can only win X amount of trophies in a season. This is a man who treats all these competitions with the height of respect. He always picks really, really strong sides. And I know people will turn around and go, yeah, well, he has 2-11, so we're not surprised. But the reality is, he always plays a very, very strong team, even in the Carabao Cup, regardless of what fixtures he has coming up. And that's a hunger and a desire to win and be successful. And again, that's not checkbook related.
And that's as you know, as your T-shirt told us yesterday, that's the mentality monsters. That's, we get into a winning mentality, and all of a sudden we become harder to beat all the time. And it's clever. And he's bred success into that Manchester City side, and he bred it into Barcelona, and he bred it into Bayern Munich. Yeah. And, you know, it's not a surprise when he leaves a Barcelona and then things start to roll and all of a sudden they can't replace him. You know, it didn't go that way at Bayern, but there's no sense in saying it can't happen at City either, that when he leaves, things start to fall off the wagon a little bit. You know, it's very plausible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I read an article actually there the other day that was an interesting slant on it. And one of the things that I highlighted in the article, it said, you know, only for the rise of Liverpool again as a footballing power, the Premier League could potentially be a farmers' league.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I mean, if you look at this season, I know last season you gave them a bit of a run and you came second in a very strange season.
We didn't give them any sort of a run. We finished second, but that doesn't mean we gave them a run.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like, when you look at how close we've pushed them over the last 3 to 4 seasons and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've won one, finished with the highest points total to ever finish in second. You won it every other year with the points total, and you're up there again this season. You know, so 3 out of 4 seasons you've been bang at it.
Yeah,
absolutely bang at it. And you're right, without the emergence of that, you know, I was in the car on the way home, and I was thinking about this evening, obviously, and the podcast and stuff like that, and I was thinking about a few things, and I was like, geez, I don't know, like this what we're going through at the minute is, for me, this is Ferguson and Wenger all over again. Pep and Guardiola. It's unbelievable.
Pep and Klopp.
Or sorry, Pep and Guardiola.
Pep and Guardiola.
Pep and Klopp. You know, it's
only for us it would be Pep and Guardiola.
No, well, I mean, you know, it's Pep and Klopp, and it's, you know, if you win it, they can't win it. If they win it, you can't win it. But you're basically going to be trading off silverware for the next couple of years if both managers stay intact. Because, and again, you know how often I've said it. There's some great footballers at Liverpool, but the absolute crown and the jewel in the crown is Jurgen Klopp. He's unbelievable. The two best managers in world football by a country mile. Don't come at me with anyone else. I don't care who you are. You see, when you start writing comments about fucking Allegri, Ancelotti, Conte, Tuchel, anyone, shove them up your hole sideways. The two best football managers on planet Earth right now are Pep and Klopp. End of discussion.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think the other managers you mentioned there, I think there's a quality and a lineage to them. But I think sometimes you look at them and you think maybe they've had their time, and it's now these two boys' time, and they're going at it, as you said, it's Fergie and Wenger again, part two kind of thing,
Yeah.
But we shall see. It's certainly going to be interesting without a doubt this season. It's shaping up to be a fantastic end of season, both at the top of the table, the top four, and the relegation. I said it last week. So back to the FA Cup then. Middlesbrough, Tottenham.
Spurs after extra time.
Ooh. Interesting. I'm going to go with Spurs in normal time. And the reason I'm going with Spurs in normal time is I know Middlesbrough's a tough place to go, but I don't think Middlesbrough can do what they did twice. And I think if they give the chances that they gave you, and if they give them to potentially Kane and Son and Moira and players like that, I think they might put them away. They're actually in form at the moment as well, and they're banging in a few as well. So I think it's going to be Tottenham in normal time.
I'm going to give a big shout out to me mate, Clark Francis, who's a big Borough fan. And I know he hit me up after the United game. And I kind of let him, I says, only because I like you, Clark, you can come at me like that, pal. But yeah, hopefully they put in a good performance, because I know he'll be watching it intently.
Absolutely. We love the upsets, but we call it as we say it on the podcast, Lilton versus Chelsea.
This won't be as easy as, looking at it, it should be. And I'll just tell you why. I'm a fan of the Championship. Lilton at Kenilworth have been decent this season. They score goals. They're tight enough at the back. It's not a nice pitch. There's a lot going on. This is a big game for Lilton. This is the local millionaire rivals coming down the road. This will make this really hostile for Chelsea, make it really difficult. And again, we've seen with Chelsea, I got to say, I thought Chelsea were fabulous yesterday. I really did. I thought that's the best Chelsea performance I've seen in quite some time. But Chelsea have a big problem scoring goals, man. They really, really do. I think they're going to have enough to get through certain games, and in other games they're not. Because they're really short of a striker. They've two really expensive flops in there, in Lukaku and Werner, who at the minute neither of them are fancied. When you go into a Carabao Cup and neither of them get a look in, because you're playing a false nine in Kai Havertz, who, by the way, is a smashing footballer, the kid. But if you've got a 9, you go with a 9. You go with that threat, that goal threat. I think this could be tight. Now, I think Chelsea will do it, but I think it could be in the balance for 60, 70 minutes, maybe.
Interesting. It's definitely, I would imagine he's going to ring changes, isn't he? You see the likes of Werner starting, and Loftus-Cheek would probably start, Hudson-Odoi. So those boys should be coming in, shouldn't they?
They should, but there's my point. Are you very confident as a Chelsea fan going in with Timo Werner, even against Luton?
Well, it's those kind of games, aren't they? The games where he did his best work last season, where he did pick up his goals.
Yeah, probably.
Am I right in saying they played Luton last year as well?
I'm not sure offhand.
I thought they played Luton last year, was it? And that Werner picked up 2 or 3 goals in that game, didn't he?
Not
That
sure.
stat padded out as his stats for the season. I thought they played Luton. I'll check that out after the show.
We'll have to have a look.
I thought he did. I'm not too sure. Yeah, but
I'm gonna go Chelsea 3-1, but I'm gonna say it's gonna be real tight for about 60, 70 minutes. And then the quality will just shine through towards the end as Luton start to tire. But it'll be a decent game. It'll be very physical on a not so good pitch.
Yeah, I think normally you would turn around and you would say that, like, you know, after losing the cup final the weekend before, you'd have a big job picking the team up a bit. But I think they put in a great performance yesterday. I don't think there's any pickup. I think there was one winner yesterday, but I think there was actually two winners if you think about it coming out of the cup final.
I didn't think the game was going to be that competitive. I said to you in the when we spoke on previews and stuff, I fully expected Liverpool to win the game comfortably. I thought Chelsea were excellent. They really, really were. And listen, they can do this. The consistency isn't there, you know, and I think even Chelsea fans will say that the consistency isn't there and it hasn't been there. The goal scoring thing is a big issue for them. It really, really is, you know. They need a massive shake up at that end of the pitch. Like, in theory, you could see 2 to 3 new attackers, I imagine, in the summer, provided there's still, you know, oil money available. Russian oil money, that is.
Well, if there isn't, I'm sure they'll, like, if it goes down that road, I'm sure they'll be bought up by an owner that has a few balls.
What an attractive package they are for an owner. You know, given their geographical location. Yeah. You know, the fact that the stadium's in reasonable condition, the ticket prices are through the absolute roof. The hotel is on site now and stuff like that. Quality they play manager. Champions League football. They've a reasonable manager, they've a decent manager and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And the squad isn't in tatters. It just needs a little bit done to it here and there. You know, I'm gonna here's where I would go if I was at Chelsea. If I was involved at Chelsea, here's the first place I'd go. Nip down to Ellen Road. Yeah, nip down to Ellen Road, and I'd say, there's 40 or 50 million. We're going to take that boy Rafinha that plays on the front of our right three, and we're going to take him and put him into our team. And he'd be quality at Chelsea. Quality at Chelsea. Really, really would. Stick him in there with our Brazilian mate, Thiago Silva. 2 boys that are right L job for you.
And then if Rudiger goes, they can replace Rudiger with your other favourite from there, Liam Cooper.
I heard he's playing United Churches League next season.
We're going to hold off. We're going to have a chat about Leeds on the Monday matchup. Be ready.
Let's hold fire on that.
It's going to be very interesting. That was a move that's been coming for a while. We've been talking about that since early November. November, I think, was the first time we touched on that on the matchup. Yeah. Chelsea 3-1. I think they'll want to bounce back from the disappointment of yesterday, but I don't think it will reduce the level. But as you said, it's, you know, they could create 20 chances and score 3. This is the issue, really. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I think Lukaku up there, he could be fairly strong and he could be a pest for Luton. You know, this could be a game that really raises the confidence of Werner and Lukaku. They could probably put a score up if they were at it. You know,
you see, I just feel like it could go 2 ways. It could really help their confidence. Or what happens if they go out and the lads make it really tough and they don't get a goal or 2 and they're whipped off after 60, 65 minutes? Yeah. Now, where's your confidence now? Sorry, pal. Can you get a plastic bag out of under the sink there? I need to get it out of the toilet.
Yeah, but I think the problem for Tuchel at the moment is those boys are going to be pivotal in this run-in with so many games coming up. And I think he has to use games like this, even though there's a slight risk and it's the FA Cup. I think you have to take the risk to try and build the confidence in those guys and find it.
It's a perfect scenario for them. I'm just playing devil's advocate and saying what happens if it doesn't. But it should. When you have £100 million striker, you should be able to do it against Lilton. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ties I'm really looking forward to: Southampton versus West Ham. This is a fantastic cup tie. Ralph versus Moyes, 2 teams that have come back into some form, playing really, really well. I have to say, even looking at West Ham the other day, I was still, you know, there was 2 ways of judging. I looked at Mikel Antonio, and some people were saying he had a really, really good game. I still seen that situation there where he looked absolutely banjaxed. He looks like the mileage that he's put in this season is starting to catch up with him slightly.
100%.
And I think also, if you look at those positions he's having to take up, and we spoke about it last week, he's not playing really as that front man. He's all over the place.
You see, they don't have that front man, which is the problem. Yeah. So I think they're like, West Ham are almost at the stage where they're playing as false nine themselves. But I think
earlier in the season he was that front man.
He was a little more that focal point, yeah. But I suppose when you stop scoring goals, he has to come a little bit deeper, try and get hold of the ball and get involved a little more, which we've seen happen at United with Ronaldo.
Yeah. Problem is then there's nothing ahead of you. That's the problem.
Well, if you pick the ball up, you look up for the 9 and you're going, shit, I'm wearing it. Like, you're in trouble here.
Yeah, you're crossing into your own head.
Absolutely. No, I think this is going to be a great game. But I personally think Ralph will make way less changes than West Ham will.
Yeah.
Because I think West Ham are still in a shake-up for that 4th spot in their heads.
Yeah.
And I think Southampton are obviously just cruising along in the league now. Really cruising. And I think Southampton could put out, the team they played with last weekend and maybe get them through this one and then make a couple of changes and rest players for the weekends, Premier League games.
Yeah.
And that would be enough to get them over the line for me. I actually think Southampton will do this, I have to say. And
yeah, I think so as well.
I would look now, listen, seeing anyone other than Chelsea or seeing anyone other than City or Liverpool lift this is going to be, it's going to be a massive shock.
I think if I seen Ralph walking out at Wembley, it'd bring a smile. Not so much lift it, but if he got a day out at Wembley, I think that would bring a smile to my face. We're big fans of Ralph, and we've kind of stuck with him on the podcast through the tough middle section of the season where he was going through to the point where he was nearly looking at the door as well. Remember what we said previously as well? We said he could be looking at the door, a couple more results.
A couple of weeks, that's right.
He worked it around. We're also looking at the return of Ward-Prowse, who's looking like a baller again, isn't he? He's involved in everything.
He's great. He's a smashing player, the young fella. He really, really is. Like, you can see now why when Villa came with that suitcase full of money in the summer, they said, keep hold of it there and take it with you down to the next one. Because he's not coming out of here.
The fact they had dropped 2 big players already anyway, they couldn't afford to drop a third one.
Listen, there was 45 million reasons on that table to drop it, but they weren't gonna let him go, and he wanted to stay and he wanted a captain and stuff like that, and no, it'd be interesting. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Southampton on this one. I think, as you said, West Ham, their focus is still on the league and stuff like that. And not only looking at that top 4, but the way the league is kind of tightened up in those positions, even that top 6 is a bit of a battle. And you find yourself 2 bad results, you can find yourself in 7th very quick. So it'll be interesting. So Southampton. Liverpool Norwich. Listen, Liverpool are going to be high on confidence after Sunday, obviously. Getting to pick up that trophy and stuff like that. We'll see a few changes. But I think with the way the squad is at the minute, a few changes isn't going to make any difference to Liverpool. You might see Jota and start, and you might see Firmino get a game. And if Thiago's muscle is okay, he might play. And this is Liverpool again. There's no stopping this juggernaut, certainly not in this game.
Yeah, I think he'll ring. I think he will ring a few changes. I think he'll be very careful with Thiago because we know we've Inter Milan coming up and everything as well. Plus, we have a tough game against West Ham at the weekend in the Premier League. That's not going to be easy as well, based on the first time.
So he'll make changes. He'll make sure there's lads ready for the weekend. But I still think he'll there's more than enough there to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think the more we play and the more records we break, I think the more records he wants. I'm not saying that I'm not talking in terms of a quadruple or anything at the moment, but I think one thing they're looking at the moment in terms of the legacy for Jurgen Klopp is that he has to start packing now some trophies in there, starting with the domestic cups and stuff like that. And I think they're really, really important. And I said it yesterday. I said winning the Carabao Cup is not just about winning the League Cup and also going 9, so one ahead of Man City again, so we're the record breakers. And not only is it a trophy ahead of United and stuff like that, but it amplifies the season on even further. That like you've won in the bag now, and we've seen it with previous things. We've seen what it's done to City, how City kick on from a League Cup final and a League Cup win. You know, so I think it's vital from that point of view. But I think, as he knows, he's very, very clever in the way that he takes it game by game, and he's very meticulous in his approach, let's say. So I think it'll be Liverpool. I'd be very surprised if there was an upset in this.
Absolutely.
Could be a good game for Divock maybe to get a goal or two. It looks like Divock.
Get a game.
And Taki as well. I was disappointed in Taki that he didn't get a moment yesterday, because he has scored a few goals in the League Cup. Now, obviously, the way the match went, there was no room for that kind of manoeuvring, really. But the fact that he had scored,
there was no room for sentiment. You know. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And then we rounded out with Everton versus Barham Wood. Barham Wood, the joint killers from the last round.
I think Frank is really, really lucky with this draw. You know, this is the team you want at home, because this gives you an opportunity to build confidence.
Again,
and Everton are struggling for confidence massively. They're struggling for performances and for confidence. You know, we're not going to say they didn't put in a shift at the weekend against City, but I mean, they didn't necessarily put an awful lot forward in terms of an attacking threat. You know, it was more absorbing what City threw at them. I mean, Jordan Pickford, I think, had 8 saves after the game. You know, he was unbelievable. And that's it. They're a bit unlucky with the goal, aren't they?
They were. Michael Caine switching off. And I mean, listen, I was a big fan of Michael Caine as a defender for a while, but I think this season, he's been subpar big time. A number of times like that, he's been found out, and you can't switch off against these guys. And it must be the worst feeling in the world that you put in a shift of 80 minutes like that, and you just switch off for that one moment, and it costs your team. Now, I think they were also very unlucky with the VAR decision. I think that's 100% nailed on handball, and it's a penalty. Now, I'm not saying that they would score the penalty. I'm not saying that it would have still ran out 1-1 if they did score the penalty. But what I'm saying is, there's no justification for that when you look at it from both angles. I don't want to hear anything about people's sleeves or any of that shit. That's a fucking handball, and it's a penalty. And that's not me trying to trip City up in any way. If City were 4-0 up at that stage, it's still a handball and still a penalty.
I will come to this in due course. Let's just say that.
Absolutely. So who are you going for here? Barham Wood?
Yeah, I think Everton will get 3 or 4 up here.
Yeah, I think so.
But nice for the Barham Wood lads to get a day out anyway, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if it is in Liverpool.
Yeah, but it'll be a nice payday for the club as well.
Absolutely.
Nice payday for the club, because you would expect Goodison to have a full house as well, wouldn't you? They should do, because they need to get behind the team. This is a team that's, you know, it's on the brink at the moment. They need their supporters to come out and support them, seriously, because I know we joked a few weeks ago when we talked about our picks for relegation, and my picks were that the 3 teams that came up would stay up, and that 3 teams from the current table would go down. And it's I'm not saying it's at that point, and I'm not saying I'm going to get it spot on, but I wouldn't be too surprised if I got 2 of them. And Leeds and Everton at the moment are in free fall, and Newcastle are going one way. I just think I still think it's the 3 to come up. I don't know, the Leeds, you know, we're going to get into it on
the match. But I think the change at Leeds is going to work. You know, I think it has to work, or you're back in that championship. But I think, listen, they've made the right decision for me, and I know there's a lot of Leeds fans don't feel like that right now, but I think the decision was Bielsa had to go right now. Is Marsh going to be the man? I don't know, but is he the man that could possibly keep them in the league? Definitely. You know, he's got enough about him.
It's interesting. And Frank as well. Speaking of Everton as well, they've been tough. They have a task on their hands as well. They're in free fall as well. albeit, I mean, obviously we would expect Man City to beat them. But it was the manner in which it unfolded as well. It just gives you that other left hook to the jaw, doesn't it, really, you know, in terms
absolutely.
of... It's not the fact, I mean, on another day, you would expect Man City to beat them 4-1 or 4-2 or something like that, but the fact that it unfolded the way it did and that they had stood up to Man City so well, and just that moment with Michael Keane, so frustrating as a player. So, yeah, we're going with Everton on this one then.
Absolutely.
3-4-0. Barham Wood get even one, get a consolation maybe. Not even giving them a consolation though.
4-1. That'd be nice about it.
Yeah, we give them a consolation. But hopefully they have a good day out with their fans and hopefully they get a great
Absolutely.
That's what the joy of the cup is about. So we will be back for a review later on in the week, and no doubt we'll be covering the draw. Because the draw, I presume, happens this week, doesn't it? Right after these fixtures.
I think it's Friday morning or something, is it?
Is it Friday morning?
Change the draws and all of the things. You never know when it's happening. So
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I thought they would have done it maybe after the Wednesday fixtures. You know.
Yeah.
Because I know in the previous round they did it after the Wednesday or something like that, didn't they? And then I think Liverpool played on the Thursday.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the draw comes about. Be interesting to see if some of these teams get through. I'd love to see Borough and Lilton and Southampton in there. That'd be great, wouldn't it? For the cup, be fantastic.
We'll wait and see.
Well, until next time, my friend. A pleasure.
As always, my man.
And we will talk to you again real soon. Cheers, bro.
Cheers, buddy.